let's move on and talk a little bit about BODMAS. As you can see on the screen, BODMAS is an acronym. B stands for brackets, O stands for other operations, and by other operations I mean the indices, the roots, and any other more complicated operations. D stands for division, M stands for multiplication, A stands for addition, and S stands for subtraction. So whenever you see a long and complicated algebraic expression, if it has got brackets in there, that's what you need to attempt first. If it has got any other kind of operations like squares, higher powers or roots, then they come next in the line. Then the peculiarity is that, or the division comes in front of multiplication, they are at equal level. So you can swap the orders of divisions and multiplications around. You don't always have to do division first and then multiplication next. These two can be interchanged, and so is addition and subtraction. However, if there is a multiplication or a division, you have to do that before addition or subtraction. But again, adding or subtracting, you can switch the orders around and make your life a little bit easier if you have to do calculations by hand. So let's look at some examples. So here is this long calculation. If I look at this calculation and apply BODMAS to it, I see that I have got brackets in here. So I need to deal with the brackets first. And where there is no calculation sign between a bracket and a number, in mathematics we always refer to multiplication. So that is always multiplication. So what I need to do now, I need to carry out 7 minus 15, which gives me negative 8. And I need to multiply that by the 3, plus, I have got another bracket in here. 8 minus 12 gives me negative 4, and I need to square that. Now, although I still have got the brackets in here, there are no more calculations inside those brackets, so I can move on to the next acronym, the next letter in the acronym, which is O. So I'm looking for any other operations, and there it is. I have got a square in here. So what I need to do first, I need to square minus 4. The square of negative 4 is just negative 4 times negative 4, which gives me positive 16. And what I have got here now is a multiplication, hiding here, plus an addition. Now the multiplication is a higher operation, so what I need to do, I need to do the multiplication first. So 3 times 8 is 24, so that gives me minus 24 plus 16. And if I look at the two of them, the negative is a bigger value. So I have got more debt than I have got money. So I'm going to end up with a debt in my account, and I'm going to end up in a debt of £8 because the difference between the 24 and 16 is 8. So again, if you're not familiar with positive and negative numbers, how to deal with them, do refresh them looking at the previous video. Now let's look at the second example. Bracket square root of 25 minus 8, bracket closed, to the power of 3 plus 15. So again, following BODMAS, I do have a bracket. So what's going on inside the bracket? Inside the bracket, I have got a root and I have got a negative sign, which is subtraction. Out of the two, the root is a higher operation, so that's what I need to do first. So root 25 gives me 5. And now I carried out taking the root of the 25, I can move on to the next calculation within the bracket, and I can carry out the subtraction. So 5 minus 8 gives me negative 3. And although I kept the bracket because I need to take the negative 3 to the third power, not just the 3, therefore I still need to keep the bracket, but there is no more operation inside the brackets. So the calculations I left with is taking the cube and adding. Out of the two operations, the taking the cube is a higher operation, so that's the one that I need to carry out next. So negative 3 to the third power, or cube, means that I need to multiply the negative 3 by itself 3 times. So I'm going to end up with a negative number, and 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. So I've got negative 27 plus 15. Again, if I look at the two numbers, the 27 is the bigger in magnitude, and that has got a negative sign in front of it, so my answer will end up being negative. And the difference between 27 and 15 is 12. So I end up answer being negative 12. Now I showed you how to do these calculations by hand, but in most cases you will be allowed to use the scientific calculator. So a quick refresher on how to do it with the scientific calculator comes now. Your scientific calculator is very useful because it has BODMAS built into it. Now, if I was to do this with an ordinary calculator, I would need to tell the calculator which operations to do first. So, first of all, I would need to do the 8 minus 12, then square that, write down the answer to it. Then I need to do the 7 minus 15, multiply the answer to that by the 3, write down again, and add the two things together at the end. So quite a lot of staged steps involved. However, with the scientific calculator, I can just write this all in one go. So 3 bracket 7 minus 15 bracket closed plus next bracket open 8 minus 12 bracket closed square, hit equal, and we got the answer minus 8. Quite a bit faster. The second example was very similarly. Bracket open, square root 25. Make sure that you press the arrow button so you come out from the square root, otherwise everything will be taken under the square root. Minus 8, bracket closed, and now you can raise it to the cube, so there is a separate button for the cube. Plus 15 equal minus 12. So if you know how to use your scientific calculator accurately, that will save you a lot of time, especially in a nervous exam situation. Let's look at some examples that are a little bit more familiar and come from the subject of economics. So let's say that you were given a function 2q squared minus 4q plus 150 and need to find the value of this function when you know that q is equal to 10. Now, first of all, what we need to do is we need to substitute the letter q for the number 10. 2 and q has got no calculation sign in between, so that refers to multiplication. So I've got 2 times 10 squared minus, same case in the 4q, I need to multiply the 10 by the 4 plus the 150. So if I was to do it without a calculator, again I need to refer back to BODMAS. I've noticed that there are no brackets, so the next highest operation I need to carry out is the power, because that belongs to the other group. So what is 10 squared? That is 100. The next calculation I can do is multiplication, because that's the next in the list. So that's 200 minus 40 plus 150. And what happens now? I have got subtraction and addition. As I said before, they are interchangeable. So I can do the additions first and the subtraction next, or I can do the subtraction first and the addition next, whichever you find easier. I usually find doing additions easier, so what I'm going to do, 200 plus 150 is easier to add, so that would be 350 minus the 40, altogether gives me 310. Again, just a quick refresher how we can do it using the calculator. So 2 times 10 squared minus 4 times 10 plus 150 again gives us the answer of 310 quite quickly.